Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're watching me from. How you doing, everyone? It's a beautiful evening here in Nigeria. Wow, I'm so excited to be here with us today. How have you been? If you're live with me right now, I just want to maybe get your favorite emoji, or you can tell me where you're watching from. Today's going to be an exciting conversation, an amazing conversation. I'm so excited that we're here together on this conversation. So if you're watching me, can I know? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Okay. I can need a confirmation in the comment section. Thank you. Good evening, Evie. Thank you for being here. Good evening, Reverend Terry. Thank you. Watching from the UK. Okay. Amazing. Amazing. So we've had a lot of conversations this year, and this is actually the ninth month of the year. Winding up already. Today's going to ninth, and it has been an amazing time. And we're going to be treating a very wonderful topic today, sex education. Yes, the nitty-gritty of sex education. Thank you, Gloria. Send me here. I can see you loud and clear. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Itoa, Gloria Sareme. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all for joining in this evening. Okay, so like I was saying, we're going to be talking about sex education, the nitty-gritty of sex education. You know, when it comes to sex education, it's something or a topic that most parents shy away from, and most people shy away from. Thank you, Evie. Thank you so much. And most people shy away from because I think we feel that it's so complicated, or most times parents feel that they do not know how to communicate, or some people feel like it's a taboo to talk about sex education in your home. Thank you, Mr. Oyenka. I can see you watching from Port Harcourt, Nigeria. Thank you so much. They feel it's like a taboo for you to talk about sex education in your home to your children, and you're wondering it's forbidden. We don't need to tell our children. We want to corrupt their innocence. We have to wait for them to grow up. But the truth is that the information we try to keep away from our children, somehow they find out those things. Somehow they get to know about these things. So it is better as parents that we are the ones that teach our children the intricacies about sexual education or sex education. Now, when we talk about sex education, most people will first of all think about the mechanics of sex. That's not exactly what we're talking about. Sex education embodies a lot of things. It embodies body safety. It embodies talking about body parts, teaching your children their body parts, talk about gender identity. You talk about drug abuse. You talk about the media, online safety, emotional responsibility and control, human relationships, sexual assertiveness, a lot of things in the entirety of sex education. So when we're talking about sex education, what comes to people's mind is that, oh, I'm going to talk about sex. No, it's beyond the mechanics of sex. It's beyond the physical act of sex. It embodies a lot of things. And so today we're going to be looking into sex education. It's going to be like the starting point. We're going to continue on this because it's very broad. Now, sex education begins with you, the parents. There's something we always say here, and Coach Wendy Oluge always says this, that parenting begins with you, the parent, not with the child. It starts with you. The journey of intentional parenting starts with the parent, not the child. So sex education actually begins with you as a parent. So the question is, how much do you know? How much do you know about sex education? These questions, you're going to think about them and you're going to answer them for yourselves. How much do you know about sex education? How authentic and accurate is the information you have? You know, most times as parents or individuals, we tend to believe that we know a lot of things. But the truth is that, do you have the right information? What you have, is it authentic information? Sometimes we are in error, and we believe so much in error that it looks like it becomes truth. So how much authenticity can you place with the information you have about sex education? How authentic and accurate is the information you have? What skills do you have as a parent for effective communication of the subject matter? Do you have skills? Do you have listening skills? Do you have the effective communication skill to communicate to your children? Everything is important when it comes to sex educating your child. The other question is, what sexual decisions and standpoint does your life portray to your child or your children? What sexual decisions or what's your standpoint? Some people believe that it's okay to use vulgar words in their homes. And you forget that your children are watching, so they pick it up and feels that is a normal thing to do. Probably your standpoint is that once you're an adult, you are free to be sexually active. Your children pick it up. So what is your standpoint and decision when it comes to portraying the life or the right life your children should live as it pertains to sex education? Do you believe in pornography, that children have the right, or when they come of age, to watch pornography? Do you believe in, what is the word, sexual pleasure, as far as it's not hurting anybody? So your perception, your standpoints, your decisions on sex education is portrayed to your children and guides their decisions and their standpoints also. So sex education begins with you. Knowledge is critical. You need to have the right knowledge, and you need to understand this knowledge for you to communicate it properly to your children. If you don't have understanding of the knowledge, you're not going to be able to pass it right to your children. So it's very important. So sex education begins with you as a parent. I'm going to say it again. Sex education begins with you as a parent. Now I'm going to give us some statistics. Sometimes people feel that, or parents feel that, it's not important. When they grow up, they're going to learn a lot of things. We assume a lot, believing that somehow our children are going to get the right information. Somehow they're just going to live the perfect life. Somehow they're going to turn out better. Parenting, you cannot leave to chance. Parenting your children, you cannot leave to wishful thinking. You must play the role. You must be active in your parenting journey. So let me give you some global statistics so that you understand why it's so important as parents that we teach our children, or we educate them when it comes to sex education and the rest. Very important. Now, the WHO, which is World Health Organization, estimates that up to 1 billion children aged 2 to 17 years experience physical, sexual, and emotional violence or neglect in the past year. A global study found that among survivors of sexual violence, 8% of female survivors and 14% of male survivors reported being first exposed to sexual violence before the age of 12. Before the age of 12. So you can see it is important you start early. Among all children under 18 globally, roughly 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 7 boys have experienced some form of sexual violence in childhood. Now, UNICEF estimates over 317 million girls and women alive today. About 1 in 8 were raped or sexually assaulted as children. When it comes to sexual assault, sometimes children are sexually assaulted because they do not have information handy. They do not know, they do not have knowledge of what to do. Now, let's go. When you include non-contact forms, online abuse, verbal harassment, exposure, etc., that rises to about 650 million globally. Now let's look at Nigeria. I'm talking about, let's narrow it down to Nigeria. Okay, I'm actually talking from Nigeria now. Let's narrow it down to Nigeria. Overall abuse prevalence. About 60% of Nigerian children experience some kind of violence, which includes sexual, physical, and emotional abuse. Specifically, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 10 boys experience sexual violence in childhood in Nigeria. Let me take a case study on Lagos State. Now, a report by the Lagos State Domestic Sexual Violence Agency showed that in 2021, of 3,943 cases reported, 1,222 involved children. Among those, 172 were defilements, 130 rape cases, 58 sexual assault by penetration, 45 attempted sexual assault by penetration. You can imagine the figures of children that face a lot of sexual abuse. And you see, think that for us to educate our children on sex education is Chelsea. It is important. Now, the truth is that you cannot shield your child from the world out there. What you can do is to prepare them. You can give them the necessary tools, the necessary skills, the necessary knowledge and wisdom for them to survive out there. So when do you start to sex educate your child? Now. Today. So if you have not been educating your child or your children, today is the day. Now is the time. It begins now. There is no better day to start sex educating your children than today. Tomorrow may be too late. You have to start doing something now. Now, with respect to age, every age has something they can learn. Every age has something they can be taught. And then that relates to the conversation of sex. Every age has something to be taught. Your 2-year-old or 2 years old child can be sex educated. Your 1-year-old child can be sex educated. There is something you can teach them when it comes to sex education. So every child or every age has an appropriate conversation when it comes to sex for them. So we need to find out what it is, and you're going to learn about that on this conversation. So it's so nice that you are part of this conversation, because that is part of the things we're going to be talking about today. Now, there is nothing like my child is too young to be taught. A child is too young to be engaged when it comes to the conversation of sex. Your child is not too young. There is something that is specific that suits their age. There is something when it comes to the conversation of sex. Now, sex education does not actually begin, or it's not about the one big talk, in quotes, or just a conversation that you do once and you're done. It's an ongoing conversation. So it's a process. So for age 2, you say something. For age 4, you say something. For age 7, there is something that matches that age. So it's an ongoing conversation that you have with your child. So it's not once and for all and you're done. It's an ongoing conversation. Now, experts like the American Academy of Pediatrics and UNESCO guidelines recommend starting from age 2 to 3 in small age appropriate ways. Now, that is the recommendation from the American Academy of Pediatrics and UNESCO. So they recommend that you start from age 2 to 3. But there are some people that believe that you can actually start the sex conversation even before the age of 2. And how do you do that? By creating a safe environment for your child, by creating a safe environment of love, of healthy relationship. So your child becomes secure and finds a sense of security. And they begin to know that I am loved. They begin to feel the atmosphere, that I am treasured. They know that they find security in you as a parent. So you can actually start earlier. But the recommendation from American Academy of Pediatrics is that you start from 2 to 3 years old. Now, there is this thing about this generation. Most times we tend to want to leave certain things to be taught to our children to the school. You don't leave sex education for your child to the teachers or to the society. No, you are responsible. It starts with you. Now, there's certain things that can be taught in school, but it should start with you as a parent, because as a parent, you are their first teacher. You are a mentor to your child. You are a role model to your child. Now, parenting is not just about giving birth to children and you get the title, I am a mother, I am a father. It's beyond that. You are a teacher, you are a mentor, you are a coach, you are a pastor, you are a priest, all encompassing. So you don't leave sex education to the teacher. You don't leave it to the school and assume, okay, in the school curriculum, they're going to teach them there. They're going to invite facilitators to talk to them about it. It is, first of all, your responsibility. It is important that you do that as a parent. Now, let me give you several reasons why you shouldn't leave sex educating your child to just the school and the society. Number one, their standpoint on the subject matter may be contrary to yours. So true. The standpoint you take when it comes to sex educating your child may be contrary to the standpoint of the school, may be contrary to the standpoint of the society. For example, probably you believe in, abstinence, and you believe that sex must only happen within the confines of marriage. And in school, they believe that, okay, abstinence is just a way, but there are other ways as far as they have gotten to the point where they can make decisions for themselves. You cannot leave the subject matter to the school or to the society. You must first of all inculcate in your child the standpoint, the values that you believe in first. And so they have a foundation. And when they get into school, they can begin to see the information that they hear. Number two, you are the parent and not the teacher. The teacher of your child is not the parent of your child. Yes, the teacher of your child should not parent your child for you. You are the parent. That is your first responsibility. Now, the school is a stakeholder. Yes, they can help, they can support, but you are the parent. You are responsible for parenting your child. Now, one thing I ask parents is that what is the reason why you have a child? Why did you decide to have a child in the first place? Now, when you understand the reason why, you can have the motivation to do what is necessary for you to do in raising that child. Remember, you are a steward. You don't own that child and you give an account. Now, number two is that you need to parent your children. Now, it is your responsibility. Now, the Bible says something about Abraham. And God was speaking to Abraham and he said, I know Abraham, for he will teach his children in my way. The Bible said God knew that Abraham would take the responsibility to teach the children that God is giving to him in his ways. And it's another scripture that says, it said, hear the instructions of your father and do not forsake the teachings of your mother. So it is our responsibility, fathers, to give instructions, our responsibility, mothers, to teach. So you are the parents and not the teachers. They can have supporting roles, but it is your responsibility to parent your child. It is your responsibility to disciple your child. And that is actually the right meaning for discipline. Discipline means to make a disciple of, to model, to train up a child. And it says, train up a child in the way that the child should go, that when he's old, he will not depart from it. That is your responsibility. And there's something called the principle of first mention. The principle of first mention. Now, it states that the first time we learn about a subject creates a lens from which we continue to look through that same topic. Everything else we learn about that subject is weighed through that lens. The principle of first mention. It refers to how the first piece of information or belief about a subject creates a lasting framework or lens through which all subsequent information is filtered. Now, so the first information a child hears can become a lens through which the child will interpret every other information that is related to that subject matter. So even when they are contrary new ideas, they find it difficult to adjust or to align. Now, what am I trying to say? The implication of this principle is it highlights the importance that the initial teachings in subjects like morality and spirituality should come from parents. Because parents can provide the fundamental truth before others do. The principle of first mention. There are certain things that your children should first of all be taught from your home. Because it creates a foundation and gives them a lens through which they interpret that subject matter when they get into the society. So a child is taught that integrity is of essence. The child is continually taught that purity is key as they grow up. A child is continually taught that they should keep their bodies and they should protect their bodies, for their bodies are private and their bodies should be cherished and not to be toyed with. Now, the information they are taught at home becomes the first information they receive. So when they go out into the society, whatsoever they hear, they filter it through that lens. And so when it does not align with the first information they've been taught at home, they know that I have to discard this. So it is critical that when it comes to morality, when it comes to spirituality, there are certain things your children should hear first from the home. You know, when it comes to sex education, there are a lot of things that our children hear first from outside. And it shapes their decision. So a child begins to hear, I've heard girls that say, for example, a child going through menstruation, a girl, and she has painful menstruation, and their friends tell them that when you sleep or become intimate with a boy, the pains will stop. And I laugh. And you can imagine if that child or that girl has not been tutored at home to understand that when she goes through that period or that phase in her life, there is a tendency that she may have stomach cramps. And when she has the stomach cramps, it's just because of the contraction in her uterus, because of the contraction in her stomach as the blood flows. And so it may be normal. It's not really normal. It may just be part of the experience she has when she goes through her menstruation. And so when she takes maybe some drugs, it helps to relieve the pain. And not when she sleeps with the boy. But if she has not been tutored at home, there is a lens, there's an information she has received, and it shapes her decision. How many girls have landed themselves in trouble because they were not tutored in the home? How many boys have taken the wrong step, have got exposed to drugs, have started abusing drugs because they were not taught at home? The law of first mention. You have a responsibility as parents. There are certain things that your children must hear, that they must be taught first at home before they get into the society, because it creates the lens from which they can make decisions. My husband is online. Thank you, very Christian Ahmed. Thank you for joining us in this conversation. And I'm going to read some things that's been dropped here. It's good to be conscious of the principles of first mention, which is to teach them first morality, spirituality, and education. Very important. So I'm trying to give you some reasons why you should not let certain things, now in this case, sex education, you should not leave it for the teachers or the society. A research showed that the role of parental communication and instruction conducted on a community-based sample of 1,083 youths aged 13 and 17 showed that youths were much less likely to have initiated sexual intercourse if their parents taught them to say no, set clear rules, talked about what is right and wrong about delaying sexual activity. Now you can imagine, this is statistics, this is research. So some things should have been averted if parents taught their children how to say no, if parents had set rules in their homes, and if they taught their child what is right and wrong and about delaying sexual activity. You know, sometimes some people feel that when you set rules, it looks like you're putting them in bondage. Rules are needed. They are guidelines. They are guidelines. They are ways to shape your child, not to imprison them. There are guidelines to give to your children that will be able to train them. So you don't just leave them to be able to go wild and do whatever they like because they have not gotten to the stage that they can manage freedom. You know, freedom has to be managed. Freedom has a price. Now we must be able to set rules and guidelines. Your home should be predictable. You should not have a home that can be predictable. So anything goes in the home. Nobody knows, okay, if I do this, what's the consequences? Nobody knows that, okay, this is what will happen if I do this. Everything just goes. No. You must be able to set guidelines in your home to be able to raise your children right. You can imagine what research says. There are a lot of things, a community-based research, and it's showed that youths were less likely to have initiated sexual intercourse if their parents had taught them to say no, if their parents had set rules, if their parents had taught them to differentiate between right and wrong, and if their parents had taught them about delayed sexual activity. When do you start sex education? Now. It is so important. Why not avert the wrong decisions that your children will likely make in the future by teaching them today? Why not go through the pains of sitting down with your children and having conversations with them so that you can avert certain things? Don't assume that they will know. Don't assume that the school will teach them. Don't assume that they grow, they begin to hear things and they will know what is right and what is wrong. They must be taught, and you have a responsibility as a parent to teach your children. I believe we're learning something in this conversation, and we're beginning to learn certain things, and it's so important as parents. You don't parent by default. You don't parent because you don't automatically know how to parent because you have children. You have to learn. You have to seek knowledge, you have to seek understanding, and you have to seek wisdom. So it doesn't jump on you. If you want to be a better parent, you know, most times as parents, we complain about the way we were raised by our parents, and we are beginning to take that same path in raising our children. Things will happen the same way, except you are deliberate enough to cause a change. And change doesn't just happen. You make it happen. You make it happen by seeking knowledge. You make it happen by grooming yourself, by upgrading yourself. So it is important that you start parenting your children and teaching them about sex education right now. So let's go further. In sex educating your child, there are certain things that you must know. First of all, I've said this and I'm going to emphasize it again. First of all, you must know that it begins with you. What are your beliefs, your attitudes, and the values that you hold on everything that borders around sex education? What do you stand for? Do you stand for abstinence? Do you stand for same-sex marriage? What do you stand for? Be in one place. Don't be in the middle. You know, some parents are neither here nor there. So whatever is trending, you follow. Okay, this is what people are saying now, we follow. What do you stand for? Stop confusing your children. Today you're saying this, tomorrow you're saying that. You're confusing your child. Your children don't understand what you stand for. Today mommy is saying this, daddy is saying that, next tomorrow they are saying something else. You must stand for something. If you don't stand for anything, you're going to fall for anything. So you must stand for something. And your children must know what you stand for. What does our family believe in when it comes to gender identity? What do we stand for as a family when it comes to sexual assertiveness? What do we stand for as a family when it comes to the issue of drugs? When it comes to online activity? When it comes to media? What do we stand for as a family? Now, since sex education as an ongoing conversation is not a one-time thing, a one-time marathon talk that you must finish on a go. Never tell your child everything you know about the conversation once. Yes, you cannot tell your child everything you know about sex education once. Their mind may not be able to comprehend it. You can imagine sitting with a 3-year-old and trying to download everything you know about sex education. The child will be confused, like, what's this my mom is saying or my dad is saying? They don't understand what you're saying. So don't try to tell them everything once. You're going to give them overloads of information and they may not understand what you're saying. In such conversation, in sex conversation, never be afraid to say you don't know. When your child asks you a question you don't have an answer to. As a parent, you don't know everything. So if you're having a conversation, probably your preteen or your teenager or even your preschooler, and your child asks you a question and you don't know how to answer the question, just say, oh, I'm going to get back to you on this. I think mommy or daddy needs to go and check this out so that I can give you the right information and give you an elaborate information. There is no fear. Do not tell them the wrong thing because you want to prove that you know everything. You don't know everything. There's nobody that knows everything. Everybody is learning. We're improving ourselves on a daily basis. Don't portray the picture to your children that you are perfect. There's no perfect parent anywhere. And don't expect them to be perfect. There is nothing like the infallibility of parents. I don't know. There's no gospel like that. Every one person we fall short at a particular time. And as a parent, nobody is expecting you to know everything. So do not expect or be afraid to tell your child, I will get back to you on this. And when you give that commitment, make sure you go back to that child and answer the question and explain the confusion or what that child is confused about to that child. Sex conversation will be shared according to your values and principles based on your faith. And that is why it's important you must have family values. So whatever you're sharing with your child on sex conversation must not deviate for your values as a family. You must have values. What do you stand for? What are your values as a family? And that is why every family must have family values. You must stand for something. Please, if you've not gotten my book, The Family Vision, you can do well and get that book. Because it explains to you what family values are and how you can curate your family values. If you haven't, you can get Family Vision. You can get the hard copy or the soft copy. You can DM us for the hard copy. For the soft copy, you can go to seller.com/family vision so that you can understand the importance of setting family values. You cannot talk to your child about sex education outside your family values, outside what you stand for as a family. It guides your conversation. It guides the communication you make to your child. Now, one thing else you need to do in sex educating your child is build a healthy relationship with your child. No connection, no impartation. Critical. And you don't earn connection with your child because you are their parents. You can be the parent to your child. You can be their mommy. You can be their daddy. But it doesn't give you the right or doesn't mean that they're connected to you. Connection must be built. You must build connection with your children. And connection is key. For you to have an effective sex conversation with your child, there must be connection. There must be rapport. There must be a connection for even that child to be willing to listen to you in the first place. So you must have connection. You must build connection with your child for you to have an effective sex conversation with that child. It is very important. And one thing you must know is that you're not a lecturer. As a parent, you're not a lecturer. Just come and just blab. This is what you're supposed to do. Don't do this, don't do that. You're not a lecturer. You're a parent. You're a role model. It is a conversation. You're talking, your child is listening. You give them opportunity to ask questions. You give them opportunity to say something. And that is how you ask them questions so that you can understand how they are thinking. You can understand their perception of certain ideas, or certain philosophy, or certain topics that borders around sex education. So it is a conversation. And when you're conversing with somebody, you talk, you listen, the person talks, you listen, you give feedback. Cultivate a safe and shame-free relationship with your child where they can come to you, or your child can come to you about any issue. You know, sometimes as parents, we're so judgmental. The child has not said anything. You're already judging the child. That child will not come to you tomorrow. Because if I feel I'll be judged, why should I come to you? Why should I come to tell you that this is what I've done, or this is what I think, or this is what I heard? And the next thing you're going to say, so you're becoming a spoiled child. Now, how can you say that kind of a thing? Junior, where are you going? What kind of friends? What have you been watching? So you're becoming spoiled. The child just came to hear you and learn. So you must become a safe space for your child, a shame-free relationship. That is what you need to develop with your children. And they can come to you and talk to you about anything. You know, most children have a safe space outside. So there's somebody outside they feel they can confide in. And they talk to that person. But how are you so sure that the information they're getting from that person is right? How are you so sure that whatever advice you're getting from that person is the right advice? So you must build connection. Trust begins with connection. A lot of parents complain, my children don't trust me, my children don't talk to me. And you know, they're talking to that person outside. My dear, have you built conversation with your child? The fact that you're their parent doesn't mean they should talk to you. Have you built a connection with that child that the child can trust you? Trust begins with connection. Can your children trust you enough to tell you their secrets, to tell you what they're going through? To tell you that somebody bullied them in school, to tell you that they think about certain thoughts in their head and they do not know how to handle it, to tell you the things that they're exposed to, the videos that they watch, and they're having issues with that. Can they trust you enough? It starts with connection. You must build connection. And connection is not built overnight. It starts with conversations. It starts with a sincere heart that showcases love to your children. We're going to talk about building connection another day. Let's focus on sex education. Now, I'm trying to give a lot of statistics in this online conversation today so that you know that we're not just talking in the air. Now, there's a research that showed that the higher the quality of a parent-child relationship, the lower the odds of young males having multiple sexual partners, and the lower the odds of young females being sexually active or having multiple sexual partners or having occasional sexual partners. So the relationship you have with your children goes a long way to help them. You are not, what's the word now? You are not I'm looking for the right word, that when you come to your house, everybody is running away, helter skelter. Nobody wants to be in the same space with you because you are daddy or you are mommy. You're not helping your children. You're not helping them. Because there are certain things that they need to learn from you. You need to build connection with your children. Yes, I'm saying you're the parents. You are to parent them. Friendship is a tool in parenting. You're not their friend, you're the parent, but friendship is a tool in parenting. Build connection with your children. It's so important. Now, Coach Wendy said something. He said, I love my child. It's not a parenting strategy. It's not a parenting strategy. One of the parenting strategies you must use is to build connection. Build healthy connection with your child and don't focus on creating appearance. Do you know that the parents focus on creating appearance in the society? I know they're concerned about, okay, when we go out, we're going to wear the same ashwabi. So people would think that, me, my child, we're having a beautiful relationship. And inside the house, there's chaos. Your child cannot even talk to you. Your child cannot stay in the same space with you. Your child is so happy when you travel and they're angry. Oh God, you're coming back home. You must build a healthy relationship with your children. It is so important, very important. So let me see what some people, let me read some comments here. Okay, there's a question here. Let me just look at it right now. Must we young parents are scared? Okay, let me try and read it. Most of us young parents are scared of discussing sex with our children. It is very important for us to learn so that the internet will not teach our children the wrong things. This topic is very, very important to us. Very correct. Thank you, Mrs. Evie. It is important that you teach them. If not, the internet will teach them. Especially for our children already have internet-enabled gadgets. A lot of things they will learn from the net. And not every information on the net is correct. And that is why, as a parent, as a family, you must have a media plan. You must have a plan that determines how exposure, how the use of media runs in your home. We're going to talk about that on another day. Let's still within the confines of sex education. Okay, so in sex educating your child, you must create an open and accessible atmosphere for communication. You should be accessible as a parent. Learn not to overreact to what your child says, even if it's not what you are expecting to hear. For those of us that we have teenagers, your child just comes to and tell you that, Mommy, I just kissed a girl. Hey, do you know I just followed a boy to one corner in the school, eh? And the boy just started touching me. I'm trying to imagine the expression of some of our friends. Eh? Junior, you did what? Some parents will not even wait. The next is bad dose. You're already giving a chance. Left, right, center. How can you do that? You want to tarnish the family image. You want to spoil my reputation. Me, the pastor of the church. You must learn not to overreact. For a child to walk up to you and to express certain things that the child believes that they can confide in you, probably you have the solution to their problems. I saw a movie some years back, and the lady was actually telling the father of a girl, because the girl, I think she was prom night or something, and she actually went for prom night, and she had a lot of experience there with a guy, and the lady had to go and bring her out from the prom. She called the lady, and she didn't want to do certain things they were trying to make her do. She called the lady to come pick her up, and the lady brought her home, and she had to have this conversation with her dad. So the lady was actually telling the father that you must be calm. That there's certain things she's going to say to you that you must not overreact. Don't even wear the expression of your face that you're disgusted or you're feeling like, how can you disappoint me like that? So we must learn not to overreact. Because when you do that, it pushes them away. Because you just make them feel like, oh my God, I am the worst being on earth. It's a lot to do that. I don't know if you've been in a situation where people tell you things that you don't expect this from this person, and the person tells you that this is what I have done, and you feel so disappointed. I don't know. Sometimes there's this expression on your face. Communication is both verbal and non-verbal. So the person sees that there's so much disappointment on your face. We must train ourselves as parents not to overreact, and it doesn't show in our expression. So the child is saying things, and you're looking at the child, and the child is like, the expression is like, okay, I think mommy wants me to say more, or daddy wants me to say more, and the child begins to open up. Because when you overreact, the child closes up immediately. And no matter what you're saying, you have to tell me what you want to say. It will not work. It wouldn't work. You can imagine how many secrets children hold on to, the trauma they've gone through. Some children have been sexually abused, and because of fear, they cannot even approach their parents to say anything. Because probably the first thing the parents will say is that they're going to blame them. It's your fault. But it is you that put yourself in that shoes. And I'm wondering. And so they keep it to themselves. And you can imagine the trauma that child is going through. So in sex educating your child, you must learn not to overreact. Emotional intelligence. You must learn not to overreact. Get clarity to their questions before answering. You can ask, what do you mean? So get clarity. Don't assume and you just judge and just throw the answer. Don't be a parent that you are thinking of the next thing to say. You're not listening to the child though. You are thinking of what to reply. So you're not actually listening to your child, listening to the information the child is trying to communicate to you. So you listen with your ear, you listen with your heart. Very important. Now, for example, a young girl goes to her mom or her dad, and is trying to tell the mom or the dad that, Mommy, I've not seen my menses. It's like, my menses is coming late. I'm supposed to have seen it. It's like, 2 days ahead, and I've not seen my menses. My menses is 2 days late. And before the child lands, the next thing I try, hey, you are not pregnant. How can you do this? You did not listen. And that is why every parent must be knowledgeable. The fact that a girl, probably her period came late, doesn't mean she's pregnant. There are certain things that may have triggered that made that to happen in the child. And because we are as parents, we are not informed, we just think of what we want to think and we overreact. I'm going to talk about that later on as I get towards the conversation. There's something where I'm going to talk about that. And you overreact. What if that child has an infection and that's what's causing the issue? But because in our minds, we cannot settle down and listen. Emotional intelligence is critical in parenting. We cannot be calm. We drive the child away. And tomorrow, that child is not going to tell you nothing, no matter how you press. Nothing. So be their no shame, no judgment zone. Be their no shame, No judgment zone. Be the point or get to the point that your child can tell you anything. Even if they've done the worst thing on earth, they should be able to run to you and confide in you. If the world is going to kill them, they should come to you and know that mommy and daddy will listen to me and will point me in the right direction. Now, emphasize the do's and not the don'ts, especially for preteens and teenagers. When you're having sex conversation, don't do this, don't do that. Emphasize the do's. Now, let me tell you the implication of always staying on don'ts. I don't know if you have seen toddlers, when toddlers, they're working, when they start working and they always want to run, or preschoolers, and you keep shouting, stop running, don't run. Do you know that that's when the child begins to run the most? That's when the child begins to run the most. So emphasize the do's and not the don'ts. Now, what does it do, especially for preteens and teenagers, and even us as individuals? This is something that plays out with us. When somebody keeps telling you, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, you know what plays out in your mind? Now, most of the times, you tend to want to do those things that they tell you not to do. Why? Because of some psychological factors, one of which is what is called psychological reactance. Now, what do I mean by psychological reactance? It's a phenomenon where individuals feel a threat to their freedom and react by asserting their autonomy. So this desire to regain control, and so it can lead to deviant or rebellious act of doing what they are told not to do. So when you keep telling that child, don't do this, the child, there's this sense that, are they trying to control me? You're taking my freedom. As someone, you find out that the child may want to do that thing that you're telling them not to do. That's just one of the psychological factors called psychological reactance. There are other factors that may contribute, sometimes to curiosity. This thing that mommy and daddy keeps emphasizing, don't. Let me even see what is in that don't. And sometimes it's just the thrill of being disobedient. There are other factors. So try and have conversations where you teach your children to understand why. Where you teach them to understand why certain things, they should toe certain lines. They should get an understanding why and how it affects them as individuals. So you're not just throwing instructions of don't. And you're wondering why. So if your children understand the reason behind what they have to do, it gives them a better ground to do what is right. Instead of dishing out don't instructions. Now, help them to understand their identity. This is so important. I think this is where it should start from when you're educating your children. The first thing they should know is their identity. Identity forms decisions. Identity motivates actions. If your children understand who they are, what they stand for, it will form their decision. If royalty, or for example, the Prince of England knows that he is a prince, there are certain things he will not do. There are certain clothes he will not wear. There are certain languages that will not come out of his mouth. There are certain ways there are certain places he will not find himself because he knows his identity. He's a Prince of England. So it is very important that the children understand who they are. Who you are will fund what you do. It will fund and motivate your decisions. So it will fund and motivate their sexual decisions. Let your children understand who they are. They should know their identity. I'm not talking about the fact that they know their name. Your identity goes beyond your name. Who are you? You are a priest and you are a king. You don't have premarital sex because it's unsafe or because of the fear of pregnancy, of sexually transmitted disease, but because of who you are. You're a king and you're a priest. Two different dimensions. So a child understands that the reason why I cannot engage in drugs, the reason why I cannot be involved in pornography, the reason why I cannot be involved in masturbation, the reason why I have sexual assertiveness, or the reason why I cannot be involved in premarital sex is not because I am scared of STIs. It's not because I am scared that I'm going to get pregnant. It's because I have a knowledge of who I am. I am a king and I'm a priest. And there is a culture of kings and priests. Identity. It is critical. Your children must know who they are. Teach them from an early age. You are a king, you don't talk that way. You are a priest, you don't talk that way. There's a story I heard, I can't remember, about was it a prince that was taken and it was given handed over to him, was he a wizard or to corrupt his language? Because he had an understanding that if his language is corrupted, his life will be corrupted because the way of his words will guide his path. And they kept trying to corrupt his language. And the prince looked up to the wizard, or was it a witch? I can't remember, and said, I am a prince. I don't talk that way. That child had been grounded. That child had been so filled and so grounded that the prince understood, this is who I am. I don't talk that way. This is who I am. I don't get myself involved in these vices. Sex education begins with you teaching your children who they are. Who are they? What is their identity? Very important. So you must go back home and you must go and think, who is my child? Ask God. He knows. He has a blueprint. Who is my child? And every child is different. Your first child is different from your second child. Your second child is different from your third child. They are different individuals with different unique abilities, with different purposes. So the identity of one child is different from the next. Parenting is hard work. You must know their different identity. You must be able to communicate their identity to them. And it takes patience. Oh, I hope you're following me on this conversation. If you're following me on this conversation, can I see something in the comments to show that you're following me? Wow, the conversation, the time is ticking. I want to see something in the conversation on the chat box. If you're following me, let me know that you're following me on this conversation. Yes, I can see some comments there. Friendship is a great tool in parenting that can help fruitful conversations and successful parenting. So true, so true. If you're actually following me on this conversation, can I get a thumbs up? Can I get that I hear you? Can I get this is what I'm learning? Thank you so much, Rentari. Thank you. So I'm going to continue on this. Sex conversation is broad. We can't do everything today. I'm still just scratching the surface. But I believe that we're learning something here today. I believe we're learning something. So help them understand their identity. Help them understand who they are. Their identity will fund their decisions. And it's so important. Thank you, Mrs. Gloria. Thank you so much. So let me go over to guidelines on sex educating different ages of children. I know. Thank you. Pastor Eki. Thank you so much. I know a lot of us are waiting for this part. Okay, so I'm going to delve into it right now. Guidelines on sex educating different ages of your children. So I'm going to start with ages 0 to 2. That's the infants. Now, what do you do this age? Teach body safety rules. You can be creative. What do I mean by body safety rules? Or teach them about their body. Thank you, Mr. Ime. Teach them about their body parts. This is your hand. This is your eyes. This is your lip. This is your chest. Teach them about their body. Teach them little simple body safety rules. These are your private parts. Nobody should be able to touch you in this part. You must keep them away. You must say it in language you understand, because they're children, they're infants. And one thing you can do is that you can be creative. You can use songs. There are a lot of songs out there that teaches young infants, that's from 0 to 2. About body safety. There are songs that talk about this is my private part. If you go, you can learn. There are a lot of songs out there, so you can be creative and teach them a song that has to do with it. And they're singing, they're demonstrating, they're touching the part. These are my private, nobody touches me there. And they're dancing, and you're dancing with them. You know, when you're in parenting, sometimes you just have to calm down. You must get to the level of your children. So you can imagine you are sex educating a 0 to 2 child. You cannot just sit down here and say, you have to, no, come down to the level of that child. Play with the child, because in playing, you're communicating the message to the child. You're singing, you're dancing, you're demonstrating, you're touching. The child is touching with you. You're passing an information to that child. So it's important. Teach them about the body parts. Teach them about simple body rules. Now, number 2, ages 2 to 5, early childhood. Ages 2 to 5, that's early childhood. Now, what do you do here? Start with basic body awareness. It's a continuation. Remember they said sex education is a continuation. So you don't finish in 0 to 2 and say, okay, I'm done with this. You continue. So teach them basic body awareness. Teach correct names for body parts. This is so important. Do you know when my daughter, when I think when she was 2, that's when I started teaching her the right names for body parts. Even though there's a way I call the name so that it doesn't look like she just go there, so that she doesn't go out and just say it. I'm like, this child. So, but I started teaching her correct names for body parts. Now, if you know that it's so easy to say this is your eyes, this is your nose, this is your mouth. What is so difficult to tell the child that this is your breast, or this is your buttocks, or this is for a male child, this is your penis, or a female child, this is your vagina? I don't understand. They are body parts. Sometimes we make these things so like a taboo. They are body parts. Teach your children the right names for body parts. Don't tell them that this is a. I don't. I'm trying to think of a word. Some parents you hear and say this. For goodness sake, tell the child what is the right name or that body part. You can say this is your hand. What can you not say? This is your chest or this is your breast. It is a body part. Even as adults, some of us parents, we cannot even say it. You are trying to tell somebody that this, you cannot say the word, you cannot mention the body part. So it looks like this is the sacred part of it is body parts. So teach them the correct names for body parts. This is this and this is that. So that you're not telling them that, oh, this body part, the name of this body part is umbrella, or the name of this body part is Bible. How? Where? Teach them the correct names of body parts. It is important that they learn and they know it, so that they don't feel that it is all of us. This is our body now. Pastor Tosan, welcome. You said, "Oh my God," it is body parts. You know, sometimes we make these things so, is it the word sacred? So when the children begin to find out about it, they're wondering, okay, what's so sacred about these things? And they're wondering. Their body parts, they have names. Teach them the correct names. Explain privacy. Now, private parts are parts that should be covered. Now, the easiest way to say is that private parts are parts that are covered with your swim suits or your swim trunks. So they're private. They're for you. Your body is personal. Teach them that their body is private. Their body is not public. Their body is their own. It is personal. It is personal. I tell my daughter that your body is private. Your body is personal. Nobody has a right to tamper with your body. Nobody has a right to touch you. It is your body. And I teach her the fact that, okay, when mommy and daddy, for example, I need to bathe you, definitely I have to touch some part. It's because I need to help make it clean. So she understands that part. So she understands that, okay, mommy and daddy, okay, this is this, I have to bathe you. So, but your body is private. It is private. It is private. Okay, there's a question. I'm going to attend to this question. Let me try and finish just H2 to 5. Oh God, I'm not sure I'm going to complete this. So introduce concept basics. I'm still on 2 to 5. If you don't want to be hugged, for example, you say no. I said this when I was talking about assertiveness in the last conversation. Teach your children that it's okay to say no. No is not always a wrong word. No can be a right word when it is needed at a particular time. Teach them that if they don't want to be hugged, they should say no. And don't force them. A child doesn't want to be hugged by their uncle. Don't force the child. Say, come on, let your uncle hug you. No. Teach them consent basics. They can say no. I don't want to be hugged. I don't want to give you a handshake. I can greet you and I'm fine. Now teach them good picture, bad picture. There's something I teach my daughter. I taught her a while. So sometimes when she sees something, she say bad picture. So I taught her early. I showed her like some pictures. This is good picture and this is bad picture. So there's some dressing based on my values. There's some things that a dressing and like this is bad picture. There's some things I show her maybe like the pictures of people maybe dressing almost good. This is bad picture, and I show her with people dressing modestly. This is good picture. So she knows when she sees something, she says, "Mommy, bad picture," and she turns away. So teach them good picture, bad picture. Start teaching boundaries. And how do you do that? For example, you can teach them. You don't pick people's phones or you don't use people's gadgets without their permission. You don't take people's things without asking for permission. So you're teaching them to understand boundaries. You need to ask for permission to do something. You need to ask for permission to take something. So that's one of the ways you can communicate boundaries to them. Another thing you can do is teach your family values. Start teaching your family values early. Even your 2-year-old can understand family values. You can be saying it and the child is just saying, may not be able to pronounce the words, but they understand what you're saying. Teach family values. So your children understand that these are family values. Integrity. We stay within the confines of sexual purity. You keep saying it to their ears and you keep reinforcing the values, and before you know, it sinks into their subconscious and it begins to be their lifestyle. Very important. Okay, so ages 6 to 9. Oh my God. Ages 6 to 9, middle childhood. Talk about boundaries. I've talked about that. Safe and you need to talk about safe and unsafe touch. What do I mean by safe and unsafe touch? I think we're going to talk about that in the next conversation. I'm going to go deeper into that. Now, there are touches that are safe. Any touch that makes your child feels uncomfortable is an unsafe touch. Somebody hugging your child can be an unsafe touch if the child is not comfortable. Somebody giving your child and just a handshake can be an unsafe touch because it's not comfortable. So teach them safe and unsafe touch. And that is why when they feel that that touch is unsafe, they should be able to say no and pull back. It is very important. So you must teach them safe and unsafe touch. Very important. Another thing you should teach them, reinforce respect for their bodies and privacy. I call it body stewardship. Now they say body autonomy. Now what body autonomy? Your body belongs to you. But I'm going to say it to you today. The body actually does not belong to you, it belongs to God. So you are a steward of that body. So it's body stewardship. And what does it mean? Teach your children they are responsible to take care of their body because they're going to give an account. Because that body actually does not belong to them. The body belongs to God. They are just stewards of that body. So they do not have a right to just do anything with the body. They do not have a right to just watch anything. They do not have a right to just listen to any kind of music. They do not have a right to just say any kind of word. So you teach them body stewardship. Teaching them that that body is actually given to them to take care of it by God. So they have a right to begin to hold themselves and do the right thing. So that concept that my body is mine, I can do whatever I like with my body is a lie. Teach your children their body belongs to God and they are stewards of their body. So they cannot do anything, just anything to their body. It will guide their decisions. They can't just treat their body anyway, anyhow. No, they can't do that. They can't just fill their body with drugs and begin to abuse drugs or begin to feed their minds with pornography. No, they are stewards. Body stewardship. Teach them body stewardship. So important. Begin discussing how media sometimes show unrealistic ideas. So you begin to tell them that everything on the net is not correct. Everything online is not correct. In the first place, that's why having a media plan is very important. When do you actually give your children phones? Internet-enabled phones. That's something you must decide as a family. I have my own. And sometimes if I say it, some people will think that I don't understand. For goodness sake, you're going to keep the child. You will decide as a family. When is the right time to give your children internet-enabled gadgets? It's very important. So you begin to teach them that, reinforcing your mind that everything online is not correct. Everything the media teaches you is not correct. And that's why you must teach them. Remember what I said about the principle of first mention. It is so important and so critical. Talk about the changes that may begin to occur in their body so they are prepared and not taken away. Or they are not taken unawares. A child does not understand. A girl is of age and find out that she sees her menses and she's confused that God and she's panicking because you did not teach her. You must teach the children at this age to begin to understand that there are going to be changes in their bodies. So when the changes begins to come, they are not unaware, they are not fidgeting, they are not panicking. Your boys should understand that their voice is going to deepen, their chests are going to broaden. The girls should understand that at a point they're going to have developed breasts. Teach them these things. It gets to a point that the boys are going to have certain things. Let me hold. But they must be aware of certain things, the changes that are going to happen in their body. Puberty starts as early as 8 years and as late as 13 years in girls, and as early as 9 years in boys, and as late as 14 years in boys. Now, one of the first signs of puberty in girls is that they begin to have what we call breast burden. So they begin to have small lumps under their nipples. And menstruation begins about 2 to 3 years after their breast starts to develop. You need to know this as a parent. And it's not only for the mother. The father should know these things. There's a role the father plays in parenting. Don't be an uninformed father and say that it's not my business. The mother will teach them. What is your role? It takes two to parent a child, the father and the mother. So you must be informed as a father. What if it's you, your daughter comes to ask the question? You say, go and meet your mother, go and meet your mother. Go and meet your mother. And for example, you're a single father. You must know certain things. Don't be ignorant. In this day and time, in parenting, don't be ignorant. Oh my God, it's already 8 o'clock. Please permit me to overshoot a little bit on this conversation. I hope I am good to go. Please just permit me to overshoot a little bit. Okay. Now, at this age, still continue to teach your family values at this age. It's also very important that you continue to teach your family values at this age. Now, from age 10 to 12, this is the pre-adolescent age. Prepare them for puberty changes. Talk about the changes that may begin to occur in their bodies so that they are prepared and not taken away. I've said that. For example, menstruation, erections, body hair, voice change, etc. So you need to tell them. Please give me a second, please. Just a moment. Okay, I'm back. So sorry. Okay, teach them the body changes that are going to occur. I've talked about puberty and the rest. Now, teach your daughters how to use sanitary towels at this age, even before this age. You remember what I said? Puberty starts as early as 8 in girls and as early as 9 in boys. Teach them how to use sanitary towels so that when the child begins, you may not be there when the flow starts. And if you teach them how to use the practical ways of using sanitary towels, let them carry one in their bag everywhere they're going because they do not know when it will start. So when they start, they're not panicking and they're fidgeting, oh, something has happened to me. Oh, I am injured. Oh, what has happened? Teach them how to use sanitary pads. Teach them those things. Teach them how to keep record of their menstrual cycle. Teach them how to calculate their menstrual cycle. Just a little things. I had to learn some of these things myself. Teach them those things. They're important. They should learn it from you. They should learn it from you. It is so important. So I think I had to learn some of these things. Like I think the first time I saw my flow, I panicked a little because I didn't understand certain things. I didn't understand what was happening. But I think I had to go meet my mom and she had to explain some things. And that was the first time she taught me how to use the sanitary towel. But you can actually prepare your children for that time. It is so important. Now I said something when I was talking about the fact that I must be calm. Now there are certain things you must know. Oh, maybe I can leave this. Now let me just throw more light on it. Now you must be able to understand and you able to teach your daughter so that they don't even panic. If your child is living right and following the precepts and the values in your home, and for example, your daughter finds out that her medicine is late, there's no need for panicking. At puberty age, the hormones, there's hormonal adjustments, the brain, the ovaries, and the hormones are still developing and trying to work together. So it can lead to a delayed menses. If your child is stressed academically or stressed in certain ways, it can also attribute or play a role in that. Weight changes, fluctuating weight changes, intense exercise, a lot of things. And for example, your boys come up to you at this age and your son comes to you and says that, oh, I've been experiencing certain things. I've seen parents confused. A boy comes to me, they say, Mommy, why is it that my penis just gets erect? And the mother is confused. Stop that! Don't ask that kind of question. Why would the child not ask? Who would the child ask? The child will ask his friend outside. And before you know, the friend will say, okay, let us do something. Something is wrong with you. I can help you so that it doesn't come. And they allow you to do something wrong. You must be knowledgeable. You must know the reason why. You must know. And you must be able to teach your sons. It is very important. They should know that it's normal. It's a normal thing. So when they come to you with those questions, be prepared. Be prepared. I hope we're enjoying our time. Okay, I'm trying to round up now, right now. At this age, introduce discussions about crushes. They're going to have crushes. They're going to crush on girls. They're going to crush on boys. Attraction, emotions. Teach online safety, inappropriate content, respect for digital privacy. Start teaching more on the identity, family value. Teaching continues. At this stage, it's about conversation. Stop dishing out instructions. Then for ages 13 to 18, adolescents, address relationships. Talk about sexual purity. Abstinence. It is A only. I told, was it some set of teenagers talking to that? For me, there's no ABC. It is A only. Abstinence. Teach them abstinence. Discuss personal boundaries, discussions of family values continues, and that. Remember, encourage open, judgment-free conversations so your children can be free. And be free to come to you with anything or any question. So quickly, I'm going to look at the question that was asked here before I'm going to round up this conversation. Okay, what's the question? For the children that have refused to open up, what should I do? Even when I try to have an open conversation. I said something earlier that trust begins with connection. And connection is not built overnight. Now, if your children have learned not to trust you, you can't end their trust overnight. They must see that you're actually interested in them for them, not because you're trying to get information for them or you're trying to use information they're going to give to you against them. So it's going to be a gradual process. You're going to try to have a working plan, how you're going to build connection with them. You're going to just check on them, how they're doing. Don't try to press and find out what's the secret things that happen in their life. Like a conversation, how's your day? How are you doing? How's academics? Let them talk and get interested in what they do. They may be going through some certain projects. Try to be part of the projects they are going through. Try to what's the word? Extend a helping hand to them. Let them see genuinely that you're concerned about them. Even don't try to force your way into their lives. They must be able to trust you. It's a work in progress. It will not happen overnight. Genuine concern, genuine love that you show to them, will show it builds connection with you. You can go on a date night with your children. Yes. You can decide to have a date night with your boy, maybe mothers with the sons, fathers with the daughters, and you go out. And I just and don't go with the intention that you want to pry and know what's happening. What okay, which girl are you dating now? Okay, which boy is crushing on you? General conversations. And before you know, they begin to warm up to you. And maybe they just throw a little thing and test you, and you're not overreacting. So connection is built over time. I think we're going to have a conversation on building connection. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to have a conversation on building connection so that we can have build connection. It starts with that. Even you cannot discipline a child effectively without connection. So it is important. So it's a work, I'll say to you, it's a work in progress. Don't get frustrated. Keep doing what you need to do. Keep trying your best. But don't go with the intention because you want to know what's happening, every the secrets they have, and all the little things they are doing. Just show them love. Let them see a genuine concern, the genuine concern you have for them. And as you continue to do that, you begin to see the changes. You begin to see that they begin to trust you more. When they fully trust you, they become more open. Another thing you can do is that pray about it. Pray for your children. Genuinely pray for them, intercede for them. And when you begin to walk on their minds in the place of prayer, you find out that certain things begin to change in your atmosphere, in your home. So it's very important that you go on your knees and pray for your children. Pray for your relationship with them. Let God teach you better ways to interact with your child. You may find that I am doing the same thing for one child and it's working and it's not working for the other child. You need wisdom. You need light on the matter. Understanding. Okay. So I'm going to be wrapping up this conversation. Sex education should start early. It should be age appropriate and it should be ongoing. It should start early. It should be age appropriate. And it should be ongoing. We just started this sex conversation. We're going to continue on sex conversation next month. That's the last Monday in October. And I believe you're going to be here with me to continue on this conversation. If you have questions, you can send me a DM. Yeah, if you have questions, you can send me a DM and we'll do our best to answer your questions. Also, like I said during the conversation, the book Family Vision is still on sale. You can DM me to have your soft or your hard copy. You can order your soft copy on Seller. It's seller.com/Family Vision. Seller.com/Family Vision. I believe we have learned a lot in this conversation. If you have learned a lot, can I see some fire emoji? Can I see that I have learned a lot? Can you put something you have learned in this conversation in the comment section? I believe we have learned a whole lot today. And I pray that what you have learned, you receive grace to implement. I've said a lot of things. I pray that you receive understanding and you find better way to be able to use all of this to better your parenting journey. Yes, to tailor it to suit your parenting journey, to tailor it to suit your children. It is very important. So thank you all for joining me on this conversation. Thank you so much. Like I will always say in every conversation, build memories with your children, build memories with your family, spend time with your family, because at the end of it, all you have left is memories. And like Zig Ziglar said, to a child, love is felt time. So invest time in your children. Invest time in your children. Teach early, start early, be age appropriate, and be ongoing. Thank you so much, everyone. So I'm going to be signing out right now. See you in the next month's conversation. My name is Kite Ahmed, the convener of School of Parenting. Thank you, everybody, and have a beautiful evening, a beautiful afternoon or morning, depending on where you're watching me from. Bye for now. Bye.